This paper presents a method which eliminates aliasing distortion in voice source models. Time domain voice source models are generally defined in terms of a set of piecewise elementary functions. When implemented in a discrete time system, this is done by sampling these functions. And since the spectrum of the source model is not band limited, aliasing distortion is introduced. Previous methods tackle this problem by employing anti-aliasing functions in the time domain. However, the post-processing required with these methods can also introduce distortion and lead to perceptual artifacts. Here we propose a different method where the anti-aliasing is carried out directly in the frequency domain. This process does not require any special anti-aliasing functions, and post-filtering is not necessary since the correct spectrum is maintained up to the Nyquist frequency. However, for this to be feasible, a parametric frequency domain representation of the model is required. The proposed method involves 5 main steps and has been implemented here for the commonly used LF voice source model. In step 1, the Laplace transform of the model is derived. In step 2, the frequency response is obtained by substituting S with j omega in the Laplace transform. This response is equivalent to the frequency spectrum of the model. In the third step, closed form expressions for the model spectrum are derived by employing basic phasor arithmetic. These expressions are used to calculate the spectrum directly from the model parameters. In the fourth step, the ideal discrete spectrum is obtained by sampling the true spectrum up to the Nyquist frequency. An example is shown here for the LF model. The frequency samples in red are obtained from the true LF model spectrum. The corresponding spectrum of the sampled LF pulse is shown in blue, and the elevated amplitude levels reflect the aliasing distortion introduced. Once the ideal spectrum has been obtained, the corresponding glottal pulse is derived from the inverse discrete Fourier transform. The figure illustrates the difference between an LF model pulse derived using the proposed method and the corresponding sampled LF waveform. As can be seen from the green line, the greatest difference is found at the point of the main excitation. To conclude, a method is presented which eliminates the aliasing distortion which occurs when time domain glottal flow models are sampled. The method has been applied to the LF model, and closed form expressions are presented which facilitate calculation of the spectrum directly from the model parameters.